Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We have a new exhaust system I want to talk about, and that is the 2-in-1 system for the Indian Challengers and the Pursuits. So the 2-in-1 system is going to come with the exhaust itself. You might be thinking that this doesn't look like a typical 2-in-1 or where the rest of it's at, and I'll get into that as we go through the install. It's also going to come with the saddlebag support bracket. We did a video on this specifically, so I would recommend checking that out if you haven't already. But to recap, the bags on the Challengers and the Pursuits are supported by the mufflers, so anytime you get rid of the mufflers, you need a new way to support the bags. Since our 2-in-1 doesn't utilize a left-hand muffler, we'll need to support that left-hand bag, and that's where this bracket comes into play. So the exhaust for the 2-in-1 kit is going to come in your choice of color. We have chrome or black. It's also going to come with your choice of tip. We have a slash cut, we have a straight cut, which you can also get in chrome or black, and then we have two different baffle options. We have our 2.5-inch lured baffle, and then we have our zombie baffle. And this is how it's going to come assembled. The saddlebag support bracket is bolted to the muffler, and these bolts will be used later on for the bracket along with the two supplied nuts. So I'm going to back these two bolts out to separate the two pieces, and then we'll move on to the install. First, we have to get the bags out of the way, so we're going to take off our side cover and then disconnect the wire harness for our power locks. Then we have two bolts we need to back out on the inside. Now I'm going to remove this rear heat shield. We have 3 hose clamps. There's one here at the rear cylinder, there's one here at the front, and then there's one here at the back that clamps the heat shield to the muffler. That is a 6.5 millimeter. If you don't have a 6.5, you can also use a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, or a 1/4-inch socket will fit on there just as well. Now we can take off the left and the right hand muffler. So we'll have an exhaust clamp up here at the front, and then we'll have 2 bolts at the back. Moving on to the 2 bolts in the back, what I like to do is use a 1/4-inch drive deep socket, and that'll be a 13 millimeter. And the 1/4-inch drive deep socket will be deep enough to be able to reach the bolts, but it will still be shallow enough to where you're not completely bumping into the tire, preventing you from getting the bolt out. Now we can remove the stock crossunder. This might look a little bit different than your setup. We currently have our 2-in-1 cat delete on here. This is where your crossunder section with the catalytic converter will be, but the process is going to be the exact same. So we're going to loosen up this clamp here, and then we have 2 bolts, one on either side. I'm just right on this bracket, and then we'll back those completely out, and then we'll just slide the crossunder off. Just slide this clamp out of the way. We're going to reuse it later. There's 3 pieces to this clamp. We have the actual clamp itself, and then we have the gasket, and then we have our retaining ring. Once we get the clamp out of the way, we can remove the 2 support bolts. I'm actually going to remove the one from the left-hand side first, and then I'll come back to the right and back that one out. Here's the bolt for the right-hand side. Now that we have everything out of the way, we can take a closer look at what's going on with this stock head pipe. So you can see it's a 2-into-1 design, and it stays at 2-into-1. There's no dump out to the crossunder. It's just a straight 2-into-1, and this is different than what you would typically see on a Harley touring model or even on a Chieftain, where it has the dump out for the crossunder built into the crossunder, just like this. So on the Harley touring models and on the Chieftains, the exhaust comes into the collection chamber, combine, go through the catalytic converter, and then they split out to the left and right hand muffler within that collection chamber. The Challenger is different in that the catalytic converter is located in the crossunder, not this collection chamber here. So it starts off the same, the exhaust combines into this collection chamber, but then it's directed into the crossunder through the catalytic converter, and then it splits out to the left and right. So how does this all fit into our 2-into-1? Well, since the stock head pipe for the Challenger doesn't have the crossunder dump built into this front section of the head pipe, I can actually reuse this front section as the base for a 2-into-1. And our system is just going to clamp right to this front section of the head pipe, just like the crossunder did. And in doing that, we're able to ditch the big heavy crossunder section. We also don't have the added time or the added difficulty of having to install a new front section, and we also don't have the expense of having to include that front section. I'm just going to slide the muffler on, just going to slide it on to where our front bracket lines up with the original bracket for the catalytic converter. And this bracket in the back is slotted, so if you're not lined up right away, just either slide forward or backward to get that lined up. I'm just going to get one in the rear started just to hold it in place. And I'm going to move up to the front to make sure I'm lined up. Here's our bracket. You can kind of see we have to come forward just a little bit just to get the hole in the bracket lined up with the nut. Keep that one finger tight. Get the ones in the back tightened down. Now I'll get the front one tightened. There is not a lot of clearance here between the bolt and the muffler neck, so you'll probably need to use a wrench. Now we can get our clamp on. So how this works is we have our gasket, which seats up against the flare on the muffler. Then we have our retaining ring, which presses up against the gasket, and then our clamp will go over the top of that. And then as we tighten the clamp, it'll squeeze that retaining ring towards the flange, which squeezes the gasket. And if you took this off, you want to make sure you have it on the right way. So one side is threaded and the other side just has a seat for the screw. So it'll go on just like that, just to make sure the head of your screw is facing out so you can tighten it down. And as you tighten this, you just want to make sure your clamp is still around the flange of the muffler and around that retaining ring. You also want to make sure you have the clamp rotated back far enough to where when we go to put the heat shield on, the heat shield won't be butting up against the clamp. Now we'll get our heat shields put back on. All right, moving on to the support bracket. Very easy install. We're gonna reuse the stock mounting bracket for the muffler, and the front of the bracket's gonna mount to the same spot where this lower side cover is screwed to. So we have supplied bolts that we'll use there. We'll reuse this stock screw here, so we're gonna back that one out. That's a T30. The bracket will go on the outside of that plastic tab that supports this lower side cover. We have a sturdy one-piece design. It's going to be hidden and out of the way. There's no pieces that are protruding out where they shouldn't be, and it's also not going to interfere with any preload system like the E-preload on the Challenger Pursuits and the Challenger Elites. All right, now I'm just going to quickly finish up the rest of the install here. We got the bags, the side cover, and then we'll take it outside and do a couple sound clips. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any questions, just shoot them down below or give us a call. If you guys are interested in this shirt, Red Zombie shirt, be sure to check out the link. I'll have a link for that along with some other cool apparel that's available on our website. If you guys want to see more videos like this, be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. But that's all there is for this video. Thanks for watching.